Hey guys, Tony here. Back once again to do another random pull record review for my collection. Again, I'd just like to reiterate that on a daily basis, well, as often as possible, I should say, I go on Discogs, the website, to my collection and have it randomly select an item, and from that I do a quick review and just sort of listen to the record, do a little research, show the record, etc. Make a little review. So far we've been getting lucky, I think. Some fairly interesting things. I mean, the day will come where I'll be reviewing Born to Run or Sergeant Pepper or something, but so far I think it's been okay. I've only vetoed one pick, and just for reasons I just didn't really feel like talking about one of them. But anyway, so far I've stuck to it. The pick for today is something of an accidental masterpiece. I mean, it's been said that this album, unintentionally created a whole genre of music in a way. And what we're talking about is an album by Manuel Göttsching. His album released in 1984, E2-E4. Now, if you don't know who Manuel Göttsching is, probably most known for this album and known for being the guitarist in the German krautrock band Ashra Temple, later Ashra, and then released a few things under his own name. So here's a guy, fantastic guitarist, mostly playing krautrock, sort of psychedelic music with electronics going on. He's from the Berlin school of Klaus Schulze and Tangerine Dream. So, he made these albums, very psychedelic albums for the most part, blues influence sometimes. But in the early '80s, he was he talked about how he slowly built up all these different sort of electronic instruments, and he would play around with them and create things with them. Very much inspired by the minimalist school. Again, like I mentioned yesterday, Terry Riley for one. Very much inspired by that. The story is that one Saturday evening, he had a flight from Berlin to Hamburg and wanted to make music for his Walkman. That's the story. And so he went into the studio and laid down, I guess a relatively new invention at that time was a sequencer. And so he laid down this sort of, repetitive sort of, repetitive beat, if you will, with drum machine and, this sort of repetitive thing going on with keyboards. And on top of that, he improvised a bit on keyboards and then laid down a guitar track. And this is pretty much what he created, this album. And it wasn't released until 1984. And at the time, it was a critical flop. I guess critics hated it. And it wasn't until later, like 1989, somebody played it, remixed it, some DJ did something with it in the clubs, and it became a hit again. And that's when this album really started, was discovered really and became known as such a, people realized how early this was done. And what you have here is basically one of the first techno albums in a way it's been called. A huge influence on techno music, on house music, things like that. And the story is it was all accidentally created. So yeah, I mean what you have here is these synth patterns done over and over, very repetitive, slow building, and again he's improvising. It's still very minimalist. Improvising with keyboards and guitar. And again, it just slowly builds this sort of trance-like thing. And, for somebody not used to this sort of thing, it may take a little while to get into. This was an album that I discovered basically through the vinyl community and kept listening to it, and finally found a vinyl copy and was thrilled when I finally got it. It's not the easiest thing to find. Even though it's been reissued a number of times, it's just so influential. So, yeah, just an incredible album. What I really like about it's one piece, I should say. It's an hour long, but for the vinyl, it's split in two. Some people prefer to listen to it on the CD. Of course, CD's digital. It's much more clean sounding, and it's not split up. It was split in two for the vinyl release, of course. What I like is the second side is when the guitar really starts, he's really playing the guitar more. Side 1, the guitar's really sort of set back. You barely notice it. But there's some really sort of jazzy Latin flavor, just some really shimmering guitar on the whole second side, and I love the whole piece, but I just like the second side. I know when I flip the album over, I get to hear him play his guitar, and Manuel Göttsching is a phenomenal guitar player. If you're not familiar with his work with Asherah Temple and and as Asherah, and he's done a lot of work. Check him out, but yeah, like I said, this is again sort of repetitive, trance-like electronics. Early techno, but a phenomenal album and one you should check out. So there you go. Manuel Göttsching's E2-E4, released in 1984. So check it out. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll be back soon. Please leave a comment. Thanks.